than 48 hours into 2024, and already Japan has experienced a massive earthquake, and also one of their airplanes apparently collided with a Coast Guard plane and caught on fire. A Korean politician was stabbed in the neck on video. Bitcoin achieved a new 52-week high, and Jim Cramer has turned bullish on Bitcoin. And with all of this, you might be thinking, what the f is this all about? As Bitcoin began a breakout of a month-long symmetrical triangle, are the bulls about to bust? Or are they about to be busted on and in? Over the last couple of hours, Bitcoin has had an absolute roller coaster of emotion, with the Bitcoin price setting new 52-week highs, higher than it went the entirety of 2023, and us receiving a lot of actual talking head information, commentary about Bitcoin. And guys, we're less than 48 hours into this year. It's absolutely bananas. Wow, so if you love gains, busting, busters, and pumping, hit that like, hit that subscribe. And without any further ado, let's absolutely jump into what will surely be some completely mind-boggling data. So one of the first things I want to talk about, obviously, is Jim Cramer basically saying that he thinks that the Bitcoin spot ETF approvals will be a sell the news event. But also, he said that Bitcoin is here to stay and you can't kill it, right? So this is a nice mixed bag. Jim Cramer very often is completely off the mark with everything. And so him saying some good and bad things about Bitcoin, it's really confusing a lot of people. And honestly, is endangering the entire multiverse. Mankind, humankind, the earth, the universe as we know it is honestly in jeopardy of completely imploding because of Jim Cramer's comments here. So also, CC15 Capital on Twitter has been covering this for weeks, and I think this is very interesting. Basically, he's been covering multiple entities that have just been buying like millions, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. Over the last 45 days, he says here. The aggressive Bitcoin accumulation is still happening. There's even a Bitcoin buy program that buys several times a day regardless of price, multiple wallets. You can see here, some of these wallets have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. And in fact, some of these wallets literally had 0 Bitcoin, like just days ago. So we're just seeing massive accumulation. And I think it's leading a lot of people to wonder, like, who is buying this, right? Is it people, or is it city, like nation states? Is it world leaders? Like, who is it? Banks, even outside of the U.S., right? Is it maybe the Saudis, or who is buying all this Bitcoin? And really, if we continue to get this level of buying, which seems to not care what price Bitcoin is at, clearly, because they're currently still buying massive amounts, even though Bitcoin's the highest that it's been in over 52 weeks. So they seemingly don't really care that Bitcoin is actually, expensive for the last year. Who is doing it? Not only who is doing it, but what did they know? That they apparently are willing to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to buy Bitcoin, regardless of the price, right? Do they know something we don't? Are we about to absolutely bust big time? So if we actually jump into the Bitcoin chart here on the 4-hour, you can see we've been tracking this. We've entered the bust zone, and actually very quickly within the bust zone of this month-long symmetrical triangle, Bitcoin did initiate a breakout here. Above 45,000. This was the high of 2023, about a little under 45,000. The high of 2024 is already about almost 46,000. So within a day and a half, or even the first 24 hours of 2024, a new high was set above anything from 2023. Clearly, the breakout target is actually almost around 50K, which we have not achieved at this very moment. But as many people are expecting, this week or next week are basically, there has to be some sort of decision by the SEC on multiple Bitcoin spot ETF approvals. So the next, let's say the next 8 days, basically just the next week, is going to be completely bananas, completely bonkers. And we have the ability to really see, I mean, some people are even predicting the price could go as wild as, 50, 60, 70K on a spot Bitcoin ETF approval. My opinion on where I think a spot ETF approval could shoot Bitcoin in the short term, as I've said many times, I think it could be a short-term sell the news event. But if it did, I still think, over the next few weeks, it will go up, in my opinion. And regardless, it'll take some time, probably a couple weeks, for the Bitcoin spot ETFs to actually start trading once they're actually approved. So just because they're approved doesn't mean all of a sudden people are going to be investing Bitcoin into their 401ks immediately. It'll take probably a couple weeks. One chart that I also think is very interesting is that this chart right here that provided support and resistance for Bitcoin the entirety of 2023. Actually, this is exactly where we did receive a bounce. So this trend line is still working. It is still providing support. And for example, if Bitcoin would get a dump anytime going forward, this line is ascending. So every day that goes by, this support gets higher and higher. But right now, the support basically rests around 41,700 if we would get a dump here. So a little below 42,000. And so again, so far, it would be silly to ignore this trend line, which has been able to predict basically every pump and dump for over 12 months. Absolutely bananas, completely bonkers, right? Bitcoin has received its golden cross. There's a lot of bullish momentum. Every pullback, again, seems to be bought up. Is it partially maybe because there's people out there or companies or countries buying hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin indiscriminately, basically just like they just set buy orders and they don't care what price, right? That absolutely will provide support for Bitcoin if they continue to do that. But here we go. This is the big chart, really. This chart illustrates the year 2024 as we are now entering it. And I think even the first quarter of 2024, I think is going to be huge. If we just look at like the daily chart for Bitcoin, again, we're back above the 21-day moving average, obviously. If we look at Bitcoin's weekly chart, even though we've seen momentum kind of want to switch to more of a pullback or bearish mode, again, I think there's just so much optimism and honestly so much behind the scenes buying of Bitcoin that I don't know. I don't know, will it really get any significant dump? And even if it does, let's say we do get a 20% pullback, how long can that last, right? Let's say we get a pullback down to about 35,000. How long before that just shoots back up? Because if we get a dump to, let's say, 35,000, and then the day after that, Bitcoin's back above like 41, 42,000, does that really, right? Bears would still be wrong, basically. If you have like a, less than a 24-hour window to try and short Bitcoin, if that's your goal or something, and then it goes immediately back to where it was or close to it, that's absolutely not bearish at all. In fact, that's more bullish than bearish if we actually see that much support and that much of a bounce. So really, bears are just struggling for any type of narrative at this point, any type of dump, even if it might be a very, very short-lived one. Now, honestly, also today, the DXY is having its biggest move of, honestly, the last few months, up not quite, almost about 0.75% after, 3 straight months of complete dumpage. Overall, I still think that DXY is going to get creamed, especially as rate cuts come into effect most likely in the first couple of months of 2024. The stock market opened significantly lower today, though. Today, right now, it's a little more green on the day. It was down a lot more, but that'll also be something interesting to watch. But primarily, is Bitcoin now flipping 45K into support? If not, is it flipping 44? So basically this level right here, right around 44 as support. Absolutely possible. It was resistance the entirety of, or for the past month, basically the entirety of December. Is it now just flipping that into support, similar to how we were doing the same thing, or we did the same thing back here in this sideways vertical accumulation? It seems Bitcoin is just having, if we really zoom in on this chart, Bitcoin has just sideways, pump, vertical sideways, pump, and now it's been literally, again, more sideways and now a pump. So is this the beginning of another wave up? Yeah, hey, it's totally possible. It's possible we're about to see bullish momentum that we have not really seen for Bitcoin, obviously since the last bull market. But honestly, if more institutional and more crazy interest, Bitcoin spot ETFs come in, Bitcoin halving comes in, we might honestly see more bullish constructive price action than we've ever seen before. Because we've always seen dumps in Bitcoin bull markets, but so far, we have not seen any significant dump in this bullish trend once things really started switching concretely bullish in October of 2023. So this, I don't 100% agree with what I'm about to say, but it's possible that we just don't really get significant dumps while we're in a bull market. Once the bear market comes around, absolutely, we're going to be getting dumps, in my opinion. But maybe during this bull market, it's you know, every little dip gets bought up. Will we still see 30 to 40% drops in a bull market? I personally think yes, but I guess it's technically possible that we don't if we really see all these inflows that are more realistic now than ever with all of these Bitcoin spot ETFs and also just the halving coming up in literally just a couple of months. Take advantage of massive deposit and sign up bonus if you're interested with trading with Phemex or BitGet in the description and in the comments below. Without further ado, it's free.